Hey guys, I wanted to do a video on beer magazines. I'm kind of interested in seeing if anyone else out there in the YouTube beer reviewing community or just subscribers, whether you guys collect beer magazines, and if you do, what do you read? I can only get basically 3 different magazines. There are some homebrew magazines too that I can get, but I don't really bother with those. These are the 3 magazines I get are American magazines. There are Canadian ones, but in my area it's hard to get a lot of variety, so I'm stuck with the American ones. And so I'll show you the 3 magazines I get and just do a little bit of talking about each one. First one here is All About Beer. Been around for 30 or 40 years. I can't remember which it is now. I should have pulled out my anniversary magazine because I think it's 40. I think it's 40. But I'm not. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, All About Beer is probably the most famous beer magazine out there. It's also the cheapest of the ones I get. It's $4.99 here in Canada, which I imagine is even $1 or more cheaper in the U.S. Good reason for that is that it's done on non-glossy paper. It's more of a sort of a standard low-grade kind of magazine paper. So one thing about that, these magazines don't hold out as well as far as wear and tear goes. But this magazine, it has, one of the strengths of this magazine is it's been around since the craft brew revolution in the U.S. really picked up, and they usually focus a lot on personalities, breweries, and things from that. As you can see, there's Jim Koch there from Sam Adams, and he's tapping, I believe, the Sam Adams Utopia from a barrel there, testing it. And so this magazine, the articles, a lot of good articles, it really focuses on beer and beer-centric things, which is something I can say about this that the other magazines that I pick up don't always do. You get reviews from 8 different notable names in the beer world. You get, like, each page has 2 people reviewing 4 different beers, and so they do professional reviews. And they have this buyer's guide, which is probably the most interesting feature for this magazine. Every issue, they pick a style of beer, they run down the different main categories of that style, and then they give you this extensive buyer's guide which basically rates the beer. So it's sort of like a review, and at the same time it describes the beer. It's pretty handy, pretty helpful. They rate the beers out of 100 points, and usually the reviews are compiled from several different people's testings, and they sort of compile it all into one blurb. That is one problem with it, as it can be kind of confusing for people who are not used to drinking beer. Some of the descriptions they give of the beers are like, they sound really out there and eccentric. I think I commented on this once, how Labatt Blue was listed here once, and they gave this weird description of it, that all these flavors and aromas that there's no way a regular Joe is going to pick that out. Okay, so either they got like really good beer bloodhounds going here sniffing this shit out, or they're just full of crap. But either way, it's still a really helpful guide. The biggest problems with this magazine is that I often find a lot of errors, spelling errors, grammatical errors, and sometimes they'll make a mistake where they print like a review over twice. Like, say they'll have a review for a stout, and then they'll list another beer saying, oh, here's a review for this wheat beer, but it'll have the stout's description under the heading. So they reprinted the stout review twice by mistake, right? That kind of thing happens once in a while. It happens in every magazine. There's always fuck-ups, but it does seem to happen a bit more frequently in this magazine. But other than that, it's actually a really great magazine. If you want a beer magazine that's going to focus a lot on the type of beers that us beer snobs on YouTube really like. This is definitely a great magazine for that. Okay, so that's all about beer. Here's the newest one I just picked up. I never seen this one before in the newsstands, so I don't know if it's just new to my local bookstore or if I've just been missing out on it. This is just beer magazine, and this one's, I guess it's from California, and it's sort of like Maxim almost in a way, because you can see they use half-naked women to try to suck in viewers. It's definitely more of a male-centric Maxim age group crowd type of thing they're going for here. Very glossy. A lot of stupid crap in here, like drinking games and shit like that I couldn't give a fuck about. 15 reasons beer is better than your wife or girlfriend, you know, that kind of fucking nonsense. But they do cover quite a few beers at the same time. But as you can see with their beer reviews, they try to get really flashy with their graphics and their information and stuff like that, which I ultimately find is a bit more distracting than anything else. I'd rather have things just laid out for me in black and white. You know, get to the fucking point. They do focus on a lot of cool stuff, but at the same time, it is sort of like a Maxim type magazine. So there's a lot of bullshit you gotta wade through too. A lot of flashiness that it really doesn't need, I personally think. But what do I know? I don't make a magazine, so you have a different cover girl every time, right? Big whoop. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but All About Beer magazine actually used to do the same thing, so can't really fault these people for this. Like I was saying, the anniversary magazine I have from All About Beer, they used to have like a beer girl of the month for several issues, and it was like back in the 80s. So they always had like chicks in like 80s style leotards and stuff with big hair. Yeah, so that's not a bad magazine. It's more for sort of the younger Maxim type crowd kind of thing. So there's some bullshit you gotta wade through, but overall it's not a bad magazine. Here's my favorite though, out of all the bunch. This one sort of balances the sort of more informative aspects of All About Beer with sort of a men's style magazine type of thing. It's a fairly good balance of those two things. I like the review section better, although they don't cover quite as many beers as the Buyer's Guide and All About Beer. They have a very nice, plain to the point review guide that shows the beer, shows the glass that you should use for it. Reminds me a lot, of course, of like Michael Jackson's Great Beers book. Kind of the same difference, but at least they give ratings here. They give the IBUs, the ABV, tell you what the style is, etc., etc., and good reviews, good common sense reviews that everyone can understand. They focus a lot. They have a lot of good articles. The one gripe I have with it is they usually have like a featured interview with some star or something from like a TV show or a movie or something, and most of the interview has nothing to do with beer at all. They'll pitch one question saying, "Oh, what's your favorite beer, man?" And other than that, the rest of it's just a bunch of bullshit that I couldn't care less about. This magazine also focuses a lot on food pairings too, which is nice. So like, yeah, it's got a good balance. Again, it's a glossy magazine. It's definitely more of a older male demographic they're going for, like more like 30s up to the 40s, something like that. See, they have like, sometimes they'll have like a style kind of guide thing with like watches or t-shirts or some bullshit like that. Sort of the same thing Maxim does, but they don't populate the pages with bikini models. Not that that's a bad thing, but really this isn't the sort of magazine for all that stuff. So yeah, let's see what magazines you guys have. See you next time.